I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening to the folks in the town of Highlands.
Excuse me, Supervisor Lipsy, did you get my email about the agreement?
Did I get your, no.
That the insurance company said there's no additional charge?
Oh, I did get that,
Okay,
yes.
so make sure.
Yep. Yep. First announcement I have to make tonight, which it seems to be appropriate this evening, is there are 26 days until spring. I think that's very important. Oh my goodness, I'm sure if there's anything that we're not, I know we're all waiting to end this COVID virus thing, but I think second to that comes getting to spring. Been one heck of a winter. I saw tonight, last winter, we did 4 inches of snow. 4 inches. Wow. Okay. I'll ask for a motion to open a public hearing to receive public comments concerning the enactment of a local law adding Chapter 92 entitled Community Choice Aggregation Program to the Code of the Town of Highlands. Do I have a motion to open the...
I'll make the motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. It's open for public comment. Are you ladies gonna?
Sure. Thank you. So this is fine talking here. So Mindy Kimball, I live on West Point and I'm a member of the Citizens Environmental Advisory Committee. We are here to answer any questions from the public or from the town board, and we're just excited to move forward with the concept of community choice aggregation. And we're prepared, if the town board should so choose, to help serve on a selection committee for a community choice aggregation administrator. And we would love to serve at the pleasure of the board and help select that, or any other folks that the town board would like to include in a committee that might be able to select an administrator.
Okay, I probably should have said this to begin with, but the action is the adoption of a proposed law amending the Code of the Town of Highlands to include a chapter which allows for a community choice aggregation energy program. This allows local governments to procure power on behalf of its residents and businesses from an energy supplier while still receiving transmission and distribution services from the existing utility provider. And with that being said, does the board have any questions for Mindy? Okay.
Just a comment. Mindy, would you mind just reviewing again how many of the local areas are looking at this or have also done this? And then also who else may be interested in doing this in the local area?
Sure, yes, sir. So there are quite a few towns, villages, municipalities in the Hudson Valley. I think that we're at over 36 or close to 40 in the area who are already doing community choice aggregation. So we're certainly not the first, and we have a lot of examples to follow and folks willing to give us their experiences on how they did it, how it's working. And closest to us is right across the river, all along the river, right across from us from Westchester up to Beacon and a little bit north are all CCA, they all do CCAs. And so, so yeah, there's lots of folks to follow. And the bottom line on making this happen is the idea of if we choose a community choice aggregation, we're getting the buying power for all of our residents. And we could do this together with the village. I took a look at the New York State reports on how much electricity that the town uses and the village uses, and we're actually at about equal for the number of megawatt hours per month that the village uses and the town uses. And there's about an equal mix of residential and small commercial. So I think the idea of doing this to get folks better buying power for the electricity could benefit both commercial, small commercial electricity consumers and residential about equally. So yeah, and I think if we could, if you wanted to, if the town board wanted to do an MOU, a memorandum of understanding together with the village to select an administrator together with the village and agree or like work it out to probably pick the same administrator. We don't have to, but it would obviously increase the buying power for more accounts on that administrator.
Yeah, what I'm going to do as far as the public hearing goes tonight, I'm going to ask the board to give me permission to keep the public hearing open till our next meeting. Hopefully, the village will catch up and pass their law, and then, yes, you're right, then we can put the two together and come up with one committee serving both the town and the village.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
So-
we would hope that that might be able to happen. It would certainly make things a lot easier for both of us.
Yeah, and I
that
know
would be
that they did take one step. I don't know if they got to a public hearing part yet, but
They have not, from what I understand, not got to a public hearing yet, no. But yes, and we'd be happy to, as the SEAC, to field any of those questions, research anything, come back to you so that, you know, there would be some referenced information on what the answer is. Okay?
When,
any other questions?
just one more comment on this, that when I was at the village board meeting last week, this topic came up, and the comment was made that they are sort of waiting, if I understood what was said, they're sort of waiting to see where we go with this, almost like, you know, we're sort of taking the lead on this. I think our public hearing is before them, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I did not detect any kind of reservation about anything, but I think they're sort of waiting to see what we ultimately decide.
I did send them all of our paperwork, everything that we've done so far.
That's what I was-
So really, they don't have to invent a wheel, and
Right.
it's right there for them. All they got to do is get on and ride.
Right, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you, ladies, for putting your heart and soul into this thing. I appreciate it very much.
yes, we're in good company there, so thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you.
I extend those thoughts. That's 2 years' worth of work you're seeing right there.
I'll ask for a motion to hold this public hearing open until our next meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you very much. All right. I have is there any public comment on anything? Anything? Okay. I have the minutes of the February 8th meeting. I'll ask for approval.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain, because if you'll notice, the supervisor was absent. That's the second time in 16 years the supervisor has been absent for the meeting. 16 years.
And I'm happy to report that I've gone through post-meeting recovery. I'm all good.
It was kind of nice, though. I got a nice written report as to what happened at the meeting and everything. It wasn't just the minutes. It was kind of a good report on everything that took place. Communications. I don't know if I brought this up the last time or not, but Verizon is, through Tectonics, is going to put some sort of a wireless pole up at our highway garage. And I had to sign a not a contract, but a permission for them to go up and do non-damaging sampling at the above referenced site, including but not limited to paint, soil, water, and other materials to assist the condition, environmental and otherwise, of the property. So I'm not sure if and when they did it, and if anybody's interested in seeing the plans and how they're going to put it in there, I'll have this on my desk. EFC sent me this document, which I signed and submitted to them already, that, what are they saying? There's a prohibition of, that this is in a storm mitigation loan program, which we're doing the sewer plant with, and that we cannot use that monies to do any sort of surveillance, cameras, et cetera, et cetera. No big deal, we're not anyway, so it was easy to sign it and just say that we're not using that. Talking about that again, I called up TAM today, which I wasn't successful. I didn't get a hold of Tony, but I did explain to the person that answered the phone that we're getting concerned now that the TAM is supposed to design a building in place of the one that wouldn't be shipped until June or July. And I'm just curious as to how far they've gotten in their design. And once they design it, it's got to be approved by EFC. So back when we first started this, we weren't worried about a May 1st, 2001. That sounded like 2021. That sounded like, wow, that's way out there. Let's not worry about it. Now we're worried about it. Because our financing could stop on May 1st, but hopefully we can do something about that.
And everybody should have gotten, I sent out one of my like 10-page long discourse emails about the meeting we had at the sewer plant, which I'll talk about during my liaison report.
Okay, financial report. We paid out $585,844 to cover the check run on February the 17th. Beacon Recycling, $2,541 for landfill charges. Royal Carting, $2,655 for landfill charges. Fort Montgomery Fire District, $442,120. That's for their fire district budget. Four-Star Transmission, $2,063 for the front axle of one of our trucks. Global Montello, $3,577 for diesel. Highland Falls Library, $62,803 for their quarterly contribution. Ryder, Wienel, and Frankel, $6,704 for legal services. Alice Terrahone, $19,172 for zoning board legal expenses, and I'd like to clarify that one of our residents, Deborah Copolt, brought an action against the ZBA, and in order to defend it, we hired the ZBA attorney, but this is outside her, how would you put it, outside her realm as ZBA attorney, but we hired her to do a separate action for the town, for the ZBA. So as it turned out, what's the right way to say the action was terminated or unsuccessful?
Dismissed, as the clerk just mentioned, although I hadn't seen that yet. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh, I don't know how you haven't seen it, but yeah. So
Well, it
anyway,
would go to Elise, it wouldn't go to me in this
she
context.
lost
so.
the action, and that was, in my opinion, $19,000 worth of money that we should not have had to spend. And to finish off, Rockland County Solid Waste, $12,272 for landfill charges. board liaison, I can't even get that word out. Report. Ben, we'll start with you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I know on the agenda, one of the things we're going to be talking about is the ambulance corps, personnel issues associated with that. Jeff is here with us. Jeff Gathers is here with us, so I think I will delay that conversation until that comes up on the agenda, if that's okay. And I had an opportunity to, I think a few of us actually did, have an opportunity to attend the annual Association of Towns virtual meeting last week. A lot of good information came out of that. One of the things that sort of resonated with me, several things did actually, but one of the things that resonated with me was when the state comptroller, Mr. DiNapoli, was making some remarks and was talking about sort of the financial situation that the state is finding itself in. Of course, other communities within the state finding themselves in. Something that just sort of just surprised me, I guess. Unemployment claims for 2020 paid out by the state of New York, $66 billion, compared to in 2019, $2 billion. And so again, it just goes to the state in which the state is in, our community is in terms of unemployment, in terms of financial situation. State sales tax revenues, they're expecting to be down by 10%. And so he wasn't painting that pretty of a picture, which was a good thing. And it's not anything that we don't realize and we have not talked about in the board and are facing with some very difficult decisions that we're going to be making throughout the year. Senator Schumer, he also spoke. He was talking a lot about, and perhaps we've heard about the stimulus bills and the things that Congress is looking at for COVID relief. Nothing is passed yet. It's just going through the House now. But he is working to get several billions of dollars back to the state of New York. He's earmarking some of that, quite a bit of that, to come directly to villages and towns, which I think was a good thing. It was potentially some good news. Of course, he was quick to say, this is what they want to do, but you know, it's going to go through the whole process, and there's all kinds of what's in the bill, what's not in the bill, what should be COVID relief, what shouldn't be. So hopefully that's all going to get it sorted out, but at least they seem to be talking about and realizing that municipalities, along with the state, need some help. So hopefully that's going to be happening. And so that's it for now. Well, more to say when we talk about the ambulance corps.
Okay, fine.
So thank you.
Councilman Perry? No report. Excuse me. Councilman King?
Yes, good evening, and good evening everyone at home. A few things here. I also attended the Association of Towns training, like my colleague mentioned there. One of the things that I took away as hopeful was the fact that when you start talking about the $1.5 trillion that the federal government is intending, or meaning the new administration intends to bring as COVID relief. Of course, that's got to be passed through the Congress. But at the same time, if that's able to be successful, then each one of these states gets X amount of money. And so the comments from Senator Schumer that stuck with me were the fact that in the past, maybe, or even, as recent as the nearest future, a recent pandemic, monies have gotten to the state level, but they are expected to trickle down to the village and to the towns. And oftentimes, that does not occur. And so Senator Schumer, who, as you probably know if you followed him much, he gets around to all these towns throughout the state of New York every year. He visits the 900 and plus towns that are in the state of New York. And so happens to be a friend of the towns and the villages and says, what we have to do is put this money in a place where they can get it in their own hands. I think it was like 25% of whatever the money that goes to New York should come here. Well, that's a good news story, because what we do know is something is going to come out of that $1.5 1.5 trillion proposed. There'll be something of relief that's coming. And so I think we can hold our head up and think that eventually we're going to turn this corner called COVID-19, whether it be from the vaccines, whether it be from the monies that the federal government's throwing, and whether it be from our social distancing and all the things we're doing to win this fight. So I was hopeful coming out of that meeting, and I hope you are too. Next, we're going to talk about recreation. In the world of recreation, we've had a lot of exciting proposals. One of the things is we've been in some serious talks with the mayor of Highland Falls about supporting what I perceived as his vision to make this center that we used to call the senior center, which is now called the community center, a real life place in this community that is raising the quality of life of youth, elders, and adults all together. So when he met with us, we said, sure, you have a property, you have a building, but you don't have programs. What we have is a director at the town level that comes up with exceptional programs, got a lot of experience, and could do a lot more with that building. So, after a couple weeks of proposals going back and forth, we've then crafted a draft at the town, sent it over to the mayor, approximately 15 February, and now it's been crickets. I haven't heard anything, personally, so I don't know how serious he is at this point, because I think it was a very well-written draft, had everything in it that he asked for, and we were raring to go to make this thing a reality. So, I'm not going to question his motives, I'm just saying, it's going to take forever to sign a piece of paper. So, with that said, I'm going to let Recreation Director come on up, because I know he got a couple of talking points we want to get in about why we need this center. What can he do with it? I know you might have read his email, but if you didn't, we got him right here. Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
Here you are.
Good evening. If you happen to take a look at what I sent you guys earlier in the email, just a couple of points of how a community center, especially right now, could change quality of life in a community. When you're talking about what we have, which is, when it comes to something like that, not much. The possibilities are really endless. Right off the bat, when I think of a building like that, I think of senior programming, 40 hours a week. I think community engagement during the week. I think of teen centers in the weekends and evenings. Anything you can think of is within the realm of what we can do with that building. It's ready to use. There's not much there's some things that need to get done to it to make it equipped for the town, but as far as using the building, it's ready to go. And I'm just looking for some support to hopefully get some things going on over there. It's an exciting time. It's a time where we really need to think outside the box, and I think this is outside of the boxes we can get right now. With everything that comes with this community center, though, doesn't take away from anything else we do. We're still running baseball, softball, lacrosse, all that stuff that we're starting now, that we would normally run now. We're going full steam ahead into the spring. So this is actually an additional piece of program that we could add to the recreation department if this is something we're able to do. Like I said, endless possibilities with that building, endless. And,
Yeah. So thank you, Aaron. I think you've laid out a good business case, and I think also the fact that you have leaned it forward and reached out to a lot of agencies to try to get grants and so forth, like you did with the food program, and that there are people ready to already offer monies to put flat screen TVs and a variety of different things. And again, this is not for him. This is for the community. This is for the youth. I mean, since I was a kid here, I've been begging for a recreation center in this community. So we have a facility now. It says community center on the outside of it, but it's closed all the time.
all the time. So just a quick example, this is something I was thinking about with Mr. King last week. I put in a grant for a local grant for 4 smart TVs. My plan, for example, put these TVs on the wall. We have spots on the wall for them. They could be used for homework stuff, pairing phones for quizzes, things like that, easy after school stuff. But then you can hook cameras up to them. You could have seniors that are able to video chat with family members who don't live around here, or friends that they haven't seen in a long time. You could use it for video games in the evening. I mean, that's one thing off the top of my head that I was thinking about when we were speaking, but I keep saying the possibilities are endless because they really are. I could sit here for days and talk to you about the things we can do with a facility like that, and
No, we got it. And so for the board, I think we're at an impasse now. So again, I'm hoping, I'll make one last party call to the mayor tomorrow, see if he just been delayed or something, maybe there's a lot going on, he's got an election year, I don't know what's going on, but hopefully, besides this document that he asked us to put together. If that doesn't work, I saw something that the supervisor wrote that I also concur with, about the way ahead as he sees it, because we need to buy the building, they need to give it to us, or gift it, whatever.
That's the simplest, easiest way to go. And then we take all the expenses of the programs and whatever else is done, the heating, the electric, all the expenses go into the A fund. And in the A fund, as we all know, the village has their share of it, and the town outside the village has their share of it. That is the absolute best way to do it. And then the village government will say, they don't have to worry about it anymore. You're going to have some great programs come out of that building, great uses. Seniors, the Highlanders, will still be able to meet there. They just have to schedule a meeting through Aaron. If the village needs to have room for a meeting, which they've had in the past, they can have a meeting there. It's all just simply scheduled through Aaron. It would be so much easier and so much better if that belonged to the town. So that would, as long as we get to use it, I'm not going to fight anything,
Right.
but I think that is the right way to go.
No, I don't disagree with you there. As you know, for 2 years, I had somebody representing the seniors come in here in front of the board, beat me up because we're not doing enough for the seniors in that building, when we didn't own the building. In
Right.
fact, we didn't even have the keys to the building. So I got it, and I concur with you. If that was the case, it would be right, it's good for everyone.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, so-
And it'd be fair. It'd be fair to the village people, the village government, it'd be fair. Absolutely.
But I just want to add too, when we move the food program over to that building, just the location and the proximity of people being able to walk there, we've 35% increase in people that we see daily just coming to get food. And I'm confident that because of its location, if we open something like that during the week, the weekends and the evenings, people will come do it. People will come. It will be probably the most used building in the town.
All right, Aaron, thanks a lot. I appreciate
Thank
what you're doing. Police, Chief, I know you got something to talk about. I saw your email on the AEDs, and I shot an email to our elected officials, Senator Skoufis, Assemblyman Schmidt, and Laurie Tortel, our Orange County legislator, saying that, listen, here's a list of things, they're a wish list as far as I'm concerned, but we need your help. Elected officials, this is bipartisan issues. If there's something that you can do by way of grants, I got a contact back from Colin Schmidt. He's interested in helping with those AEDs. So I'll talk to you about that offline, but I just want you to know that we are working towards that. Okay, and the last thing I think I had is that Supervisor, just so you know, I'm happy to inform you that my colleague and I, Jim Modlin, we're getting ready to tackle this disaster preparedness as a two-headed monster. And so, look out.
Good, good.
Oh.
Very good. Hoorah.
That's all I got.
That's all you got. Councilman Sullivan.
Okay. So, good evening, everybody. Let's start with the building department. The building department has an annual report, which we were late on last year, partially because of the virus, partially because of the internal structure of that office. That's due on April 1st. So Phil is working on that. That is priority one for that department right now. I asked Phil, I said, so I wish I had more time to sit down and actually read some of the volumes of data that he has in there. In that office, Phil is versed on and enforces as much as the code allows, the 2020 Energy Code. So we're not yesterday, we're today. We're on top of our game that way. He's down there alone. He has a lot of work that he's doing. Anything overwhelming has been deferred to John O'Rourke, and there's been some things that have been accomplished rather expeditiously that way. So I'm very pleased with what's going on in the building department. I checked with Kelly on this. With the bad weather, once in a while Jessica, who's part-time and has another job, can't make it in. If Phil feels that it would be beneficial for her to come in on a Saturday or a Sunday to make it up, as long as she doesn't go over the 20 hours, I think we're good on that, and I think that she's accepting to doing that. So they're okay down there. The ZBA did not meet this month. If they do meet in March, it would be on the third Wednesday, which would be St. Patrick's Day. So I don't know, it's too early to tell what's gonna happen there. Next meeting, I'll report. The planning board, on the 18th, I sat in on the remote meeting. Justin is our attorney, he was there. So the hot topic is lot line changes in the village of Highland Falls. They're different than the town, and I'd be lying if I said I know the specifics. I don't, except they're trying to uncomplicate it. In doing so, at their next meeting, I believe they have 2 public hearings on that subject, 2 lot line changes in the village of Highland Falls, and they're well structured, they're doing a great job. That meeting will be virtual. They decided it's not time to come back here yet, so that will be a remote meeting. That information is on the website, it's in the paper. You go to Highlands online meeting data, and boom, you're there. It's easy to log in. Anybody can join. 7 o'clock on the 3rd Thursday of the month, which next month will be the 18th. Did I get that all right, Justin?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. Sewer. We had a meeting on the 28th down there, which I kind of talked about last meeting. I sent out a rather extensive report to everybody. I hope you all got the pictures and have an idea where the money's going down there and the problems that we're having. I'm not a person who looks in the rearview mirror and blames other people. This all started back in 2014. I can tell you that there are better engineers out there in the world than the one that we have on this project, and I'll leave it at that. So the whole thing with the building, the whole thing with refinancing, with the EFC and whatnot, has been so hard and so arduous for all of us. So we're getting close. They're down there working. The building wouldn't have been able to be delivered until July. That's way too late. So like you said, they're restructuring it. The contractor is doing that. It has to go through a bunch of approvals. So I hope, I'm glad you called them. If you want me to call them too later, next week or the end of this week.
I'll try again tomorrow.
Okay.
He was supposed to call me back, but
Fusco does have a good project manager down there. His name is Jerry Coleman. He's very good. He knows all these situations. I gave everybody a copy of the proposed schedule and the pictures of the work going on down there, where the $400,000 from Pantel Electric went, all the work that they've done. So I think everybody should have a pretty good understanding of what we're doing down there. I'm very pleased with the plant operator and the way it's going. He's excellent, and the 2 guys he has down there have been, I don't have to concern myself that much down there. They have it under control. With water, because I'm the liaison to the water district, all I can say is we get our water from the village of Highland Falls. They have had a phenomenal couple of weeks of difficulty with frost, water main break boulders, and the mayor mentioned at their meeting last week, as did the other village board members. A shout out to all the people involved in working on that. And after giving thanks, I'm going to say it again. It's been almost 20 years now in Fort Montgomery. The town spent about $300,000 up at Corbin Hill doing some work, which included a site for a future water tank. We're going to have to eventually put it there. Not the one that's there now. That's just for getting enough pressure to get up to the higher level houses. There's a site for a tank to be built. I believe for it to function, the line would have to be connected from Canterbury at the bottom up to the entrance of Corbin Hill for it to function the way it's designed. So in the event the village has a break that's 3 or 4 days in repair, we can backfeed. Maybe that requires shutting off a valve at the village line or backfeed for their benefit. But they have storage on Mountain Avenue, and really that's not enough for the amount of people we have in Fort Montgomery. We're going to have to think about a storage tank down there at some time. That's 20 years in the making now. I sent the supervisor some pictures. I called the Poughkeepsie Department of Transportation and spoke with Mr. Ed Foster. The Popel Open Bridge has 200,000 pounds of Jersey barrier on it right now, preventing it from bouncing. They will begin working on that in March. The contractor has some machines parked down by the sewer plant right now to go there. It's scheduled to be done by the beginning of June. He was going to send me further data. That's all I have is verbal right now. So it's not forgotten. It will be tended to. I know the police are going to, I'm going to go real quick before I talk about that. With the LED lighting, so that temporary restraining order was lifted about a month ago. The New York Power Authority has been in contact with me. We have to review some things that have changed over the 6 or 7 months that we were shut down. I'm not done with that yet. At the next meeting, I'll have a report on that. But I will say this. I've said it before. Orange and Rockland, when a light goes out, replaces the light with an LED light. When we started this a couple of years ago, there were 167 lights, none of which were LED. I checked in the portal today. There are now 14 LED lights. Every one of them is 5,000 Kelvin or higher. We were going to try and have it to be 2,700 or lower, but we don't have control over that. So when they extinguish, they're getting replaced by LED. No matter what you do, that's what's going there. And there's 400,000 of these things within a 20-mile radius of where we live anyway. And finally, I watched most of the village board meeting. I actually spoke with the chief about this a little bit. In all my years and watching consolidation talks, and I'm happy to be a part of all that and whatnot, the one gentleman there, the consultant, said something that I thought really stood out, which was that in a town, we have districts. We have an ambulance district. Justin has had planning board reviews where there's a drainage district, which people only in that district pay. In a town, it is against town law, if I'm quoting this right, to have a police district. I thought that was a very important statement that he made. That should help everybody to lose about a year's worth of debate on that one. So I thought it was a very profound statement. And I also attended the Association of Towns. I have nothing to say because Ty and Jim stole my thunder, so.
You've spoken so highly of it in the past, just had to.
Richard, you mentioned that the people that are going to repair the bridge are parked down by the sewer plant. Where are they parked at?
There's one machine down there. It's been there for about a week. It belongs to Echo Contracting. It's a rubber-tired excavator.
I'm assuming they're
He's parked in the parking lot way down at the south
All right,
end.
okay, because I noticed this weekend, the parking lot was filled with cars. People are still down there enjoying the park. That surprised the heck out of me, but.
Yeah. That's just something with Ty, with the recreation and whatnot. And I do a lot of hiking, and people who see me on social media know that I camped out in Skundymonk Mountain recently because I was depressed with the weather, so I decided to do that overnight. But when I drive over the mountain and there's cars parked all over the place, and it's important to keep traffic clear and whatnot, that's great. People have no jobs. There's nowhere to go. I think it's even greater if you give them something to do. Recreation is important right now at any level. And as spring comes and whatnot, people are going to be busting at the gut to get out and do things. So I hope good things happen out of all this effort we're going to put into it.
Justin, you have anything?
Nothing not on the agenda, sir.
You sure?
Can I
sure.
insert a couple of,
Chief?
Just one thing, sir, if I could. Talk about recreation as we prepare our police reform plan. Anti-violence is very important in your community, so I've included quite a bit of your recreation in our plan as well. Basically about the employees that are employed and the programs that no one's turned away from, and encompassing both the town and the village. So we're set for next week on the 2nd. We'll have our first committee meeting, which we will tape and then present on the Facebook page and the town page as well. That first meeting will just basically be a summary of who's on the committee. I told Mary Jane that I would release all the names. There's nothing to hide, but there's a couple of people that are just waiting to get back in touch with us. And that first meeting will just be what we're going to do and what our plans are and the background of each individual. I'm hoping that we could probably get away with 3 meetings. That means that we really don't have a lot of reform to do. But even the bigger departments in Orange County are doing 4 meetings. So 2 meetings amongst the committee themselves, no public input, and then a 3rd meeting and a 4th meeting if needed with public input. but I did speak to Kelly, and probably this week it should be up. There will be a tab on the page, so if you have any comment about police reform in the community, you can send that to us. We will get it. We will address it amongst the committee as well. And then when we do our public meeting, any reform comments we get, we'll present to the public as well. And whatever our final draft looks like, those public comments will be addressed and put in there. So if someone has something that we think as a committee is very important, and everything's very important, that there's some change we should make, that'll be in our final draft that will be submitted to the board and submitted to the governor by April 1st. So I look forward to it next week. I think it'll be quite enjoyable. I hope we get a lot of interest, maybe the third and fourth meeting. I don't want to be the only one talking, because I'll keep you to midnight. So hopefully everybody takes part. And watch it. If you don't have any public, comment, please watch what the committee and all the stakeholders have to offer for your community. I think it's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Bob, I think Aaron's got a comment.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry, real quick, Chief reminded me. Wednesday, I have a conference up in New Windsor. It's a summer activity roundtable discussion with all the recreation directors in Hudson Valley. We're going to try to plan what our summer is going to look like collaboratively. I just want to throw that out there. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
there's been kind of good news out about the summer, because judging by what the governor's saying about the schools, it looks like they're going to let the programs go, the summer programs and such as that. So, but I'm sure that we still got to be taking a nosedive on the virus, but it really looks good.
Yeah, so like I was saying before, the restrictions that we have now, we can go full steam ahead with baseball and softball, no issues. Minor adjustments to programming for safety. The only thing that's still on the table is the summer program. But it looks like, like you said, I have a feeling that by springtime, mid-spring, we may even get more relaxed on some of the rules, and we'll be able to do that with no problem also.
I mentioned how far away spring is, which is 26 days, and I think it's maybe 24 days since we started this virus and closing down things and shutting down things. It was the day before St. Patrick's Day. So
We had just finished basketball, our last basketball game of the season, before we shut down.
Yeah, just Supervisor, going to say,
Yes, sir.
another indicator of some hopefulness is I watched a James R. O'Neill basketball game the other night, which they streamed from the school. Now, no spectators at the school, but the fact the kids were playing. And
Yeah,
was an
yeah.
indicator, right?
Sure.
And then I heard today that the Chance Theater, historic theater there in Poughkeepsie, was going to make an announcement sometime today or tonight that they will have their first concert since COVID coming up soon. And it won't be full capacity, of course.
right.
But still, it's something moving in the right direction.
Something. Yeah.
All these things are signs that we're going in the right direction, I think.
Okay, getting to the agenda. I guess we talked about this laptop, but buying a laptop that could be shared within the town. People would take it home, use it if they're working from home. Did we come up with a decision on that? Or?
No, I think we waited.
Did everybody get the email that Kelly shared from New Windsor IT on the subject of security? She sent one out to everybody if you didn't see it. That was a concern.
But I think they downplayed the security, that it would be as secure as our computers that we have right now.
Correct. Correct.
And then you had a problem down at the sewer plant.
What I'll talk about, because I don't want to embarrass anybody,
This is to use names.
remote use is one thing. We have a computer operator who's required to do reports, so he has to have the computer, has to be him, can't be anybody else, that got tricked by a malware thing and made a return phone call to somebody in India that probably got some of his personal information. I'm not worried about the town. That person was breached. Don't know if there's training required. There's a lot of people here that may not be, I'm not computer literate from on a college level. When I went to college, it was IBM cards, So, and a lot of people get scammed easily. Remote or not, that's something you can fall into a trap if you open the wrong email or answer the wrong phone call. So that did happen.
So do we want to buy one?
Richard, actually, last meeting got me thinking about the thing, about this whole security aspect. I have, with my full-time job, I have a owned by a computer, a laptop owned by my employer that is assigned to me. When I work from home, I connect into my business, the university's internet. And there's all kinds of security, there's all kinds of protocols associated with it. I guess my question is, do we have an internal internet type, I'm assuming we do, but we have to have some kind of service that you have to have, and I think Kelly talked about it a little bit, that you have to have the right equipment to connect into it, you have to have the right passwords, usernames, all this other type of stuff. Not that it can't be hacked into, but it is significantly different than if we were at home using Spectrum Internet or something like that. And so I would think if we would get a laptop, we would also want to make sure that there's the right protocols to be able for someone to access into this. How do they get into our, I mean, for that matter, with my own PC, I would like to be able to know how I could possibly connect into the town's internet to be able to conduct business. You know, we have an email set up.
Okay, I have a program on my home computer that, I wish I could remember the name of it. Do you remember the name of it? Remote, yeah, that's it. I can connect with my computer right here in town, and I just found out the other day, I can go the other way. I can connect with my home computer from it here. Okay. So that's just a program that Kelly gave me, and I downloaded it, and it works fine. And unless you're a fast typist, it doesn't work fine because it draws out whatever you put. But other than that, it works fine. And I would assume that if we were to have this computer and someone were to take it home, they would be able to do the same thing, hook up with their computer here in town.
Yeah, it's just that with most businesses and other types of things, there's some kind of firewall that you have to be able to get through that is going to have the security in place to make it extremely difficult for someone to be, and I think that's what Richard was concerned about, was the potential of someone hacking into it, getting,
Did Kelly come up with a price? I don't remember.
I think the email she sent out was, New Windsor said $1,000 for everything, for all you're talking about, for the computer, the setup, and all that. And listen, for me, because I come from, not that I'm any hero or anything, my line of work is production. The minute there's nothing for me to do, I'm laid off. So that's my mindset. We've had people in here that have quarantined because they have to, and I think that's going to continue for some time. It's not over yet. And they're sitting home for a week and they're healthy, or 2 weeks sometimes. And you take like the building inspector and whatnot. I'm not talking about installing the IPS program on that computer. That's already here. I'm talking about a willing person being able to get some work done from home while they're quarantining. I don't know if this will last forever. I believe there's some firms, I'm going to be a little bit intrusive, even Justin's might be one of them that decided not to buy desktops anymore. They're replacing their computers with laptops for that reason. And even after the virus is over with, we all want to see people in the building and clocking and doing their job. Kelly wasn't here for months, for every day during this, and the work got done because she was doing this from her own home computer. The work was getting done. So I'm looking at it from a standpoint of production, and I probably have a lot of town employees watching me saying, we don't want this guy around, but whatever, if they're home and they can do the work, I'd like them to have that capability.
Yeah. Now, Kelly used the same program I was just talking about, remote PC.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is you look at the fact that whether you work on West Point for the government, whether you work in law firm, whether you work out there in productions, remote is not a new thing, right? It may be new for us, but it's not that scary. We just have to get the right IT people to set it up, and we can work remotely from home.
So we want to go ahead and get one?
I say yes.
Okay.
That would be a good thing.
Motion, second?
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
I'll pass it on to Kelly then. And then she can make sure that all the right protocols in it. And probably we ought to get one that can be used for, what am I trying to say here? For meetings and stuff like that. So it's got a microphone and a camera.
Yeah.
That's not, I mean, that doesn't cost much at all, the microphone and camera. Okay, So anyway, I'll tell Kelly. Community center contract discussion, do we need to talk anything more about that? You said a lot about it.
No, I don't think so. I think the bottom line up front, we got a good draft from Justin. We sent it over to the village, sitting on somebody's desk, and we just need to follow up tomorrow.
Whatever we choose to do, did everybody look at the email I sent out today on that subject? I answered Aaron's email. So I went up there, and because I'm a geek,
Oh, I saw it, the pictures you took.
I look at it from a standpoint
Yeah.
of title search surveying. What do we own? What do we not own? It's really boxed in. Are the right-of-ways such that a dial bus can go through there without somebody putting out a legal document saying you can't go through here anymore? That stuff concerns me.
Right.
So that's something.
The backyard was a good question. Is that ours or is that not ours with the fence back there?
Yes.
So I think Aaron said it is part of the property. I say ours, but I'm saying part of the property. There's a fenced-in area. And Aaron went so far as to say that the village already has some proposal or grant to do a deck back there. So to answer your question.
Yeah. So physically, the dial bus getting in there, I'm not concerned about that. That's been boxed in from, it's a really unique site. I'd love to know just how it evolved in that spot. You can look at the parcel lines. They used to go across it that are chopped, and there it is. It was the Knights of Columbus, I don't know, 60 years ago they built it or whatever. And it's evolved into what it is now. And you have on the back of the My Town Market about 30 security cameras. I'm pretty sure they don't want people parking there if that's their, when you walk down the steps on the lower portion, I don't know whose parking area that is. You know what I'm saying? These are the questions I would want answered so that we can definitively say, here's how many parking spots we have for the application, and the bus can get in there, and here's where it can park. Those questions I would want.
I'm pretty sure the legal entrance is off of Drew Avenue. All those other entrances that people use, it's just because it's being allowed by the property owners in the front. Holland Falls Market, Pozos. But the legal entrance comes in off of Drew Avenue. And there used to be a large tree there that made it difficult for large vehicles, but that tree is gone now. So, no problem.
Thank you.
Someone, if you talk to the mayor, then give him my idea too and see where we go with that.
Okay.
And if he wants to talk with me, I'll be good, I'll meet any time with him, that's fine. No problem at all with that.
And I got one last thing, Rich, your email asked a question about half-mast. There's a flag in front of that building, the American flag, is at half-mast. Now, I don't know what it was doing in the past, because you said it's kind of been frequent, but today, I just know that the federal government was recognizing the fact that we had a 500,000 person lost to COVID. And there was a national kind of recognition of that. So my assumption is that that building was following that.
Maybe a long time ago, the governor asked for, during this COVID, for all the flags to be half-mast.
Okay.
I kind of, after a while, it doesn't mean anything. It's just, I don't know, that's weird.
I don't want to get a bad rap for bad flag respect, because I respect the flag. I do not wear black to funerals, and I don't think it should be half-mast year-round. I mean, it's going on forever.
Right.
Yeah. Have you noticed anything with that? I don't know for sure.
I want to go on a limb and say that every time I've been there in the last couple of weeks, the flag hasn't moved. So
I'm not just talking about that flag. Everywhere you look, flags are at half-mast.
Oh, okay. I missed
Other
it.
than not in the town. Okay. Police reform discussion, anything more, Chief, than what we said already? Okay. Before we get to that meeting, I'd like to talk to you, and you could tell me what you want me to do, if anything. You said I had to be there, but do I have to open it and turn it over to you, or just tell me what I need to do?
For sure.
Okay. Ambulance Corp.
Yeah, let me start that off. That asked Jeff to come here tonight to talk a little bit about the operation. Before I do, though, on AEDs, and maybe Jeff will talk about this, but I think the ambulance corps needs at least one. So before we sign or do anything with the provider for those, we're going to need to make sure the ambulance corps is pulled into this, or it's part of our consideration for that. And I'm not sure if there are, yeah, Jeff.
Chief, there should be light packs. think they're out of their, they're going to a better system.
No, Life Factory.
Bryson says they're still.
Bryson is our salesperson, he's the one recommending.
Yeah, I think it's all
Well,
connected
we
there.
have 1,000.
I have my paper, actually, we can talk.
Yeah, yeah. So the AED with the ambulance also, so police and ambulance. And I think there may be a need for certain buildings that need to be looked at and everything too.
Yeah, recreational pool needs one. We loaned us one of them. too.
Right.
The battery went and really, the system is old.
Yeah. So I guess my point is that I know, Chief, you're taking the lead on it and have been the driving force behind it. But I think there needs to be a conversation with Jeff and maybe a conversation with Ryan in terms of, because I know there's a buying opportunity with Stryker that needs to be in place, so we need to be looking at those possibilities and everything.
I think that's the number that we're looking at is 5 then. So one was to be upgraded here in the town hall. We talk about 2 for patrol, yourself, and then 1 for recreation to take with them. So when whoever turns out to the pool, what they go do with the play with that, special events, softball, whatever. So they will always have one in place. But we can talk more offline about that.
Okay, good. That topic came up. I just wanted to, before we left, to circle back on that. But ask Jeff to talk to us again about manning requirements. There have been some incidents recently in which our ambulance corps has not been able to respond, either not been able to respond or be able to respond in I think the standard is a 10-minute response time. Out of the door in 10 minutes. And so at any rate, I asked Jeff to talk about that a little bit. And I think it's been a conversation that the board has had perhaps in the past, but my feeling certainly, and I think all of our feeling, is that when it comes to emergency types of response, life and limb types of things, we've got to be sure we're taking care of the community with all that. And I think there's some gaps and some holes. And so, Jeff, if you could just talk to us a little bit about how the staffing, where you see some vulnerabilities being.
Right now, good evening, everyone. Right now, especially our day shift, our morning shift, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., it's very short-handed. We are very short-handed. Monday, there's no driver, 7 a.m. to 7 p. Tuesday, we have a driver. Wednesday is a half a shift. Thursday, Pat Flynn is on. Thursday is nobody. And Friday, and in these gaps, I need to mention that there's a few of us that work at West Point Tours. And actually, I'm the supervisor there. And we actually put ourselves on the schedule, and if we're not driving a bus or have to work, we respond to the calls. We're shorthanded. And I need to say to the community, with the 2 situations that the town police handled, since it comes back on me, we have people sitting outside on the ice for 40 minutes. It's something that I don't want ever to happen. It did, and to the community, I say sorry because it comes back on me. With that said, the coverage is needed. I spoke at the budget meeting about 2 full-time employees, and I know that we're in a COVID session and tax money's not coming in the way it used to because of that, but on the same token, you can't give up emergency service from either the police or the ambulance corps, and it's important to have that coverage. Our community deserves that coverage, and when we're shorthanded like that and we have to mutual aid out, it takes them some time. The last call, Chief, was 40 minutes from Garrison because Cornwall couldn't crew up, New Windsor couldn't send an ambulance, Mobile Life couldn't, ambulance couldn't, because they were all out on calls. So that call came from Garrison and went to Mine Road. So I've said it, and I said it before. We're just looking for that coverage, and I would like to have 2 full-time employees. I don't know what else to tell you. I know you're in a pickle, and I understand that, but by the same token, we've got to have that coverage.
Okay, so my assessment of this, or my thinking about it all, is that part of the problem is the part-time employees. And we have maybe 12 or 13 that are on the roll of part-time employees, in which 5 or 6 seem to be the ones that are constantly making themselves available. And so my thinking is, and Kelly's not here today, but my thinking is perhaps we need to entertain combining 2 part-time positions into a full-time position. And I asked her to run the numbers for that. And what that looks like is if we would combine 2 part-time positions into a full-time position, 2 part-time positions have a cost of just shy of $65,000, the 2 part-time. For a full-time position, depending upon, and this is keeping the hourly rate the same, depending upon the type of insurance that would be associated with this, which is something we would have to talk about, that by combining 2 part-time into 1 full-time, depending upon the insurance, this would, by doing the 1 full-time, this would cost us either at the maximum, $9,300 more per year than what it would be if we kept 2 part-time positions. Or best case scenario is it would be a savings to us of almost $1,100 by having 1 full-time position instead of 2 part-time positions. And now Jeff is asking for 2 full-time positions. I'm not sure, haven't looked at what the budget impact of that would be and how we would get the funding or where the funding would come from and those kinds of things. But at least my thinking for us to think about is there is a, purely from a dollars and cents perspective, I think there's a pathway to be able to combine 2 part-time positions into a full-time. What the full-time would allow is, and Jeff maybe can elaborate on it a little bit, is what the full-time would allow is prevention of the scenario where we cannot have part-time coverage for certain periods of time, certain days, certain hours. So it's going to give him a little bit more flexibility in terms of scheduling to ensure that we have the full-time presence who will be here to respond to calls. And the key that Jeff keeps emphasizing to me is getting the first vehicle out within 10 minutes. And
If I may elaborate.
I'm sorry?
What you just say, if I may elaborate.
Sure.
You always want the first rig out, 100%. There's no reason not to. Second rig is a little different because you're asking volunteers to come in, and a volunteer EMT, if you have them, you're there. If I had 2, then you just have to worry about a driver on a second call.
Right.
But that first rig has to be 100% all the time.
Which is the advantage of the full-time versus part-time.
A full-time person, EMT is what you're talking
Yes,
about.
yes.
It's no good if he doesn't have a driver.
That's correct.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've had as much problems with drivers as you have EMT.
You're correct.
If not more.
With COVID, yes. People are afraid of it, or whatever reason it is that they're not coming. Their full-time jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you have the part-time EMT on with the full-time EMT, then you get that first rig out. I will be concerned with the second one after the fact.
Mhm.
That's what I'm looking at. You have that EMT part-time that's there doing its regular shift, and then you have the full-time. You get that first rig out.
The part-time one can drive.
Yes. Either one of them can drive.
The EMT can drive.
Both EMTs are qualified to drive. They're CVO trained, which is Certified Emergency Vehicle Operator.
So by having a full-time EMT, that would also give that EMT the opportunity, the ability to drive.
Yes, both of them will have to have CVO to work at the town.
Okay. So I think that would potentially address the issue of not having having the EMT there without a driver. If
I'll
the-
concern
if-
myself with the second rig. That first rig has got to go out.
Jeff, like, we're all in this together, so you don't own anything. We're all in this together, and we've gotten to this point. And with COVID and whatnot, something we don't talk about, like we'll say volunteer and whatnot, there is a service award down there. We don't talk about that a lot. Maybe that needs a hit. I'm not sure if it's enough. I mean, you take like, there's a town employee who's been in the Highland Falls Fire Department, a former chief, 17 years, and he told me that right now he'd be eligible, I believe, for $350 a month
Low
in
salary.
pension money from the service award.
Yeah, the service award.
So, I mean, it's out there, and I think we need to broadcast that, and maybe that needs a spark to get some people in that building.
I can say on a good note, because this is kind of what it is, we just got our junior corps in. Ryan's in, and so is this young lady, Kayleen. I have two more people that are in, but the drivers that are in, that are coming, they can't work during the day. They can't drive during the day. So it is a problem, and we're trying to address it and to make sure that our community has the service that they well deserve.
So so the drivers who are volunteers,
A good portion of them,
a good portion of them have full-time jobs.
full-time jobs.
So therefore, while they're on their full-time job, a call comes in, they can't leave their job to come respond, or they won't.
For instance, and as I stated before, 4 of us, if Christina comes back, there'll be 4 of us that work for West Point Tours. I'm one of those 4. If a call drops during the day that we don't have anybody covering, one of us is trying to go to get to that call. But if they're driving a bus, which we do, they can't get to that call.
Okay. Yeah, listen, I'm of
We
the
have-
position.
we
I
have-
came here in November during the time of the budget and said, listen, our job up here, in my opinion, is to figure out how we're gonna get the money from. But your job is to do exactly what you've done, come here and ask, and we should be trying to do something. Listen, I got a father that fell down on the porch in the middle of the night, and he pushed some button on his phone. You guys was there in 10 minutes,
Right.
and that saved his life. So you ain't gonna have no problems out of me. We gotta figure out where to get this money from.
And so a way of doing that is by cutting down the amount of part-time and consolidating 2 part-time into full-time. That's,
Well, I think, better said, I think we're budgeted for a certain amount of EMTs. We currently have 6 on the list that are actually working on the civil service list. We put out for EMTs, 5 responded, 3 did not respond back. 1 said, I'm not working for that, and the young lady we have has worked out fine. So out of the 5, we got 1. And this is not a knock at the board. When I have Haverster in here, and the starting rate is $17, and you go to $18, excuse me, 17 to 18, and you get paid holidays and time and a half on those holidays. Some of them are Saturdays or time and a half for Saturday and Sunday work. We used to be the king dog in a county. Everybody wanted to work here. It's not that way anymore. And again, it's not a knock at you, but it's just facts. And when my people, paid EMTs, are saying, I'm looking elsewhere because of this, ambulance just came in, they pay better. Haverstraw pays better. Montgomery, New Windsor, they just pay better now. We're kind of stuck in the realm of civil service. So,
Jeff, I've talked to you before about this, about your list here, and the people that haven't worked, don't work.
I gave a letter to Kelly with those.
Okay, because I was just wondering, I mean,
Yes.
are they never going to work, or I don't even care, they don't hurt nothing being on the list, but the
Right.
thing is, if they're never going to work.
I'm taking them off and make room. I clearly understand
Well,
that.
there's plenty of room, but, So you've talked to, was it Sean Boyle?
Sean's been out on medical, and I have spoken to him.
Yeah.
He gave me a letter in January that he was coming back in January.
Oh, he's coming back then?
No, I'm sorry, sir, you didn't hear me. He gave me a letter in January to cover a good portion of January. He hasn't come back yet.
Uh-huh. Okay, so some of those people can come back or will be coming back?
Megan, I'm keeping on, she had a baby. I spoke to Angela, Rob Falcone, and Steve Capone. He's not coming back.
Okay, okay.
There's a couple of them on there that are per diem, as you well know, and if we needed them, they could, but most of them have jobs. That's our problem. And like I said, when you put the list out, when Kelly put out the list, only 5 people replied.
Yeah. I think there's only 3 people on the list, and we got one of the 3. The other 2
and
didn't
we got
want.
one.
Yeah. And she's worked out good. I've noticed she's got 29 hours each week since
And
we got her.
she's worked out very well.
Yeah.
How does the junior corps work again? I think Ryan had to wait like 2 years.
Like I said, and he waited a while. So we have Ryan and this young lady, Kayleen, and 2 other.
So what's the age?
Emily Green and Arler and Aaliyah.
What's the minimum age though for the?
The minimum age is 16 for the junior corps. 16 to 18. Then we convert you over, you put the paperwork and coach you. If you want to stay, we convert you over to a
What all
full-time
can you
man.
do?
You can't drive until you're 21,
Right, okay.
so that limits us also.
That's state law? They can't, that's a state rule that you can't
I thought it
drive
was
a 20?
yours. Is it yours, the town's?
What's that?
The 18? Is it the state or yours?
I don't know. I'm asking.
New Windsor has drivers at the age of 18, so it's a town rule for him to be 21.
I believe it's your rule. Sir,
Can't imagine it's a town.
I think because of insurance purposes, I think it's,
June, can you look into that with our insurance company? It was, we didn't make the rule, I just,
I'm not aware of it, but insurance makes
before you.
sense.
excuse me, maybe it's before you.
Fire department's usually 21 as well, based on
Yeah.
insurance regulations.
yeah, I mean, if it is what it is, that's fine, but
Right.
if 18 is, and we've got this junior corps, I mean,
He's not 18 yet. But we have the junior corps.
Yeah.
We have one that's 18 that we're converting. Emily Green's birthday is next week or this week.
And you're gonna convert her to what?
I can't.
Oh,
A full-time, a regular member. She'll come out of the junior corps
yeah.
and become a regular member,
But still won't drive according to the rules that
according
you,
to the rules.
but in Cornwall, you're saying they're 18,
Not Cornwall, New Windsor.
New Windsor.
On the behalf of New Windsor, they have drivers at 18,
Okay.
due to how the rules are.
And Jeff, you're sure it's not in your constitution, the ambulance corps?
It may be too. I will check.
Yeah, check on that.
I will
too.
check for you.
Because I can't imagine the town making a rule like that, and it would
Okay.
have to come out of the Corps.
I'll check.
All right. Enough discussion, or, I don't think we're
Thank you.
gonna...
Appreciate everybody.
All right, that's good.
Thank you.
Jeff, I thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Jeff.
So Ty and Jim have been heavily involved with this. I appreciate the comments. If that's real cost, because once you put somebody full-time, there's a whole bunch of other costs. They're gonna have sick time and whatnot, they're not always gonna be available, they're gonna have vacation time. So if we were to have that totally analyzed, what effect would a full-time person have on the morale of the other people? I don't know how that's gonna work out, all that type of stuff. And I think whatever the service award is, I would like to take a look at it, what it's costing us. I think we need to do something, I think it needs a spark. I think it needs to have some incentive to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially given the comments that one time the town of Highlands Ambulance Corps was viewed as the top of the line. And all of a sudden now, it appears some may think we're the bottom of the barrel. I think it's time to jumpstart it.
Is the service program only for the volunteers?
Yeah.
So you're paid, a full-time employee would not be entitled to that.
Only the volunteers are.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I thought.
Included the service award. And the service award is pretty good. And to digress to you, what you said, I don't think there will be any animosity between a full-time and a part-time. I think that's irrelevant. My concern is getting that ambulance out.
Yeah.
And I'll take care of the ancillaries in
Yeah.
between that.
Yeah, that's called leadership.
Yeah, because I agree about the service award, but that was my understanding also from experience with fire, actually. That was for volunteers,
Yes, only volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's only
Right.
the volunteers, and it's really not a bad program at all.
Yeah, but I.
Most people, I didn't join for that. I joined because I wanted to be a volunteer.
Yeah.
Then they told me that there was this service award.
Yeah.
So I didn't care about the service.
But I think the real issue is, and a good comment, and I think that's gonna help perhaps incentivize getting more volunteers. But I think the real nut that needs to be cracked, and Jeff brought up a second piece of this, is the EMTs and having EMT coverage, like guaranteed EMT coverage.
That's my main point.
And then secondly, the competitiveness of working for the town of Highlands compared to the competition that is obviously out there now in other corps and commercial businesses and stuff like that.
Correct.
So that goes to the hourly rate that we're charging, obviously, or that we're paying. So I think something needs to be done, more work, with all of this, things to be thinking about going forward. But as an interim step, I was sort of taking that, okay, we have these part-times, let's combine a couple of part-time, let's see what the cost is. And again, Kelly obviously couldn't make it tonight. She had some paperwork that she was going to be able to talk to about it. But and I've got a breakdown here, but I don't, your point, Richie, about vacation time and stuff like that, I don't necessarily see that in here, which is in sick time and things like that. But there are benefits in here, unemployment types of things, disability, worker comp, all that other type of stuff.
But you fall under workers' comp anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
We all fall under workers' comp there, volunteer and paid, so you're in that pool
Yeah.
already.
So that, a lot of that is
I
accounted for
think
in the numbers that I gave you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. What you have to look at is just the insurance aspect of it and how much it will cost for that. Somebody opts out, that takes that number down. If they
Right.
want it, then it brings the number up.
Right, and that's the number, that's where I'm going from, in terms of what the range would be, depending upon, like Jeff was saying, what insurance
But
that you go.
you mentioned taking two part-timers and combining them into one.
Right.
But then you're losing EMTs if you're talking about taking two part-timers from this list.
That's what we're not going to do.
Say what?
I said, that's what we're not going to do.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's what,
I think you're looking at the list and you're saying how many people we have, and if we're budgeted for that amount of people, and that's what I was getting from you, then take those that are all on the list because they're already budgeted in and making those spots. I
Yes,
think that's what
correct.
I was
Yes.
hoping you were saying.
Yeah.
Because
I-
if we lose, the gain of full-time to lose part-time, I'll be in the same boat, and our community will be in the same boat, and
That's what
I'm
I'm trying
not
to
going
say,
to do
yeah.
that.
I know, right. Like if you take two of these people here, make one of them full-time, you're gonna lose the other one. I mean, that's the way we're saying it, and I don't think we
it's
really
just-
mean to say it
Yeah,
that way.
and I think that's what it is. It's converting those that aren't to one that is, something to that effect.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about this since at least September, if not beyond, and the same results are, we're still talking. At some
Yeah.
point, we gotta decide to either fund them or not. And if not, there's a consequence. That means we don't have an ambulance corps.
And I don't want to be in that spot. I don't want the community to be in that spot where we're not crewing up that first rig at any given point. We're a 24/7 operation. That's what we're proud of. That's what we want to represent every single time.
Yeah, well, I advocate for the people in the community. We need it.
As you well know, I go out and first respond to some of our people here by myself,
Yeah.
without the rig.
Well, I vouch for you. I've personally seen you in
So-
action. So that's not a question. I think just now the board has been in angst about the money piece.
Right,
But right now, I think we need to be more in angst about the people piece
yes.
and get it done. That's my opinion.
Jim, let's see what you can come up with here to do a little bit more work with Jeff and Kelly and yourself and see if there's something you'd like to try to present to the board as to what we can do.
Sounds good.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Back when my mother was town clerk, she was dying of cancer. Richie's father was a town supervisor. The ambulance corps 3 days a week would come to the house, pick her up, take her for her radiation in Newburgh, and bring her home, all for free back at that time. That's how it's evolved. They had plenty of members to do it. There was no charge, and it wasn't because she was town clerk. They did that for a lot of people that had that type of service back then. That's just how it's evolved, and I think that whatever we do to get people to want to join, the COVID thing and whatnot, so I would like to take a good hard look at our service award, all the dynamics to it, and give them the spark that they need to make things happen. And if anybody's watching from Senator Skoufis's office, or Colin Schmidt, last meeting I read off a letter for Bob looking for 150 grand for an ambulance. And when people talk about the competition, for the 10 years I spent doing impact aid for the school, I almost got tired of making a presentation showing people that 76% of our land belongs to the USMA and 17% belongs to the PIPC. So I would challenge anybody with only 7% taxable land to try and do what we do against the competition. It's not easy. I think we deserve the ambulance.
Okay, and anything else? Anything else on anything? No? Chief, anything else? No?
Sir.
Town board, anything else? Motion? Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Thank you all.